In today's video, we have to go over 2 recent hate articles towards people with hidden illness. One from the Daily Mail labeled, "Addicted to being sad. Teenage girls with invisible diseases, known as spoonies, post TikToks of themselves crying or in hospital to generate thousands of likes as experts raise concerns over internet-induced wave of mass anxiety." And then we're also going to go over the article the Daily Mail article was based off of, which is from CommonSense.News, which is called "Hurts So Good, You Can Get Addicted to Being Sad and Sick." The technical reason we have news is because it's there to inform and educate people about events happening all over the world around them. But here's the thing. The last few years, the news has become less and less of real news and more like those gossip magazines you used to see all over the store, by having scandals and drama, and most of it isn't true, but they get you to look anyways just in case it is. I don't think reporters really have integrity anymore. Very few of them actually care about the truth. And because these people now don't have any integrity whatsoever, this is why I typically warn people against talking to them, especially about your health story. Look, reporters and bloggers rarely have your best interest at heart. Now, the original author that started all this, Suzy Weiss, I actually know quite a few people who were contacted by her, and no, she did not explain what the article was actually going to be about. Let me say that again. She 100% did not make that clear to them what this article was actually going to be about, aka a smear campaign against people with hidden illness. Luckily, most of the people I know trusted their gut and avoided talking to her. Thank goodness. Now, before we go into these articles, I just want to make it clear, I try to keep my channel neutral typically, completely neutral. I don't want us to deal with politics, news, any of that, because I want as many people as possible to be able to come to the channel and actually get help. I don't want to exclude anyone that needs help, that needs a community. So I usually try and avoid all this. But this is something that I think the chronic illness community really needs to know. We really need to be careful about this. We really need to stand up against this, and we really need to be clear. The amount of damage that these articles can do is extreme. We're already dealing with enough people not believing us. We don't need this getting out of hand. So I need to inform you all and warn you all what is going on. And with that, let's actually look into the articles. Okay, so the first article we're going to look over is "Hurts So Good" by Suzy Weiss from CommonSense.News, which is supposed to be a middle-of-the-road news source. It was published September 6th. So she starts off with the story of Morgan Cooper, who was a teenage girl that after many tests couldn't figure out what the problem was. Recently, she did get diagnosed with median arcuate ligament system, or MALS, a vascular condition, and went to be operated on by a surgeon in Atlanta. But first she had to gain weight. So it says she was being fed with a feeding tube placed in her stomach. And it says that she had asked for this after seeing other spoonies with it. Okay, so she was trying to gain weight for a surgery, wasn't able to, asked for a feeding tube to try and help with that. Basically, this girl ended up making an entire Instagram documenting her struggles. She posted a lot of grief pictures. Then the article goes into Christine Miserandino and her spoon theory and exactly what that is, which all of you know I am not a fan of at all. But it explains where the term spoonies come from, and that's what this author is trying to get across. She explains all the different sources of spoonie influencers and merch, and she includes a small list of spoonie illnesses. She mentions multiple sclerosis, Crohn's disease, PCOS, rheumatoid arthritis, endometriosis. She goes through most of these and also explains that it's been linked to long COVID. So if you really want to know how much this person does not understand chronic illnesses, she talks about a person, Sophie Jacobson, and she explains her diagnoses as POTS, which she labels as lightheadedness, All you POTS people, is that all it is? Gastroparesis, which she labels as nothing but stomach pain. Endometritis? I think she meant to write endometriosis. And labeled that just inflammation of the uterus lining. Is that all that is, guys? And mast cell activation syndrome, which causes her body to have allergy-like reactions to, it seems like, nothing at all. Wow. He also suspects she has hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, characterized by overly flexible joints and easily bruised skin. Is that all that is, you guys? The way she's downplaying, it almost seems like it's on purpose. There's no way she looked up any of this, and that's all she got out of it. This author is seriously downplaying everything real. You guys. So this article starts out looking legit. Explains what invisible illness is, which is hidden illness. And then she confuses the spoonie mantra being, I am the zebra. So I originally remember the zebra being specifically for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Excuse my pronunciation if I said that wrong. But now from my latest Google search, apparently it literally is for any and every chronic illness that's hard to diagnose. But we're not to her point yet with this article. If you go through her article, the beginning of it is almost meant to throw people off. And then you get to the second half. She writes things like, on Instagram, a chronic illness advocate named Megan educates her audience about medical gaslighting, which she said might include being told by your doctor to lose weight. She also offers $40 off Avalux brand light blocking glasses for people with migraines. So with that, she's not only saying, like, look how ridiculous this is, comparing medical gaslighting to just your doctor telling you to lose weight, which it is not. She also is trying to discredit this person more by showing a sponsorship she had for light blocking glasses for people with migraines, which, if that helps them, whatever. Or this one. In a TikTok video, a woman with over 30,000 followers offers advice on how to lie to your doctor. If you have learned to eat salt and follow internet instructions and buy compression socks and squeeze your thighs before you stand up to not faint, and you would faint without those things, go into that appointment and tell them you faint. Now, the way she translated this, you know your body best, and if twisting the facts, like saying you faint when you don't, will get you what you want, aka diagnosis or meds, then go for it. This is what this author is saying. How vicious. What do you mean she doesn't faint? She literally does if she doesn't do those things. To not tell your doctor you're fainting when you have an issue that makes you faint without taking umpteen preventative precautions. What? What? And then she says something from an unnamed source, commenter. I tell docs I'm adopted. Then they'll order every test under the sun. No, they won't. I think this is made up, to tell you the truth, having worked in a hospital. Just because you don't have a family history doesn't mean squat. They're not going to do a ton of extra tests on you if you're adopted. That's ridiculous. Not to mention, any good hospital should actually have your history and your family history from all the other times you've gone and all the other places you've been. Now, the next part in this article, to discredit people with chronic illness further, the author actually sneakily slides in information that's actually about TikTokers and mental health faking that's been going on lately, which I have mentioned in a previous episode. She writes, over the pandemic, neurologists across the globe noticed a sharp uptick in teen girls with tics. Again, what does that have to do with chronic illness? Many at one clinic in Chicago were exhibiting the same tic, uncontrollably blurting out the word beans because of a popular British TikToker with over 15 million followers. And yes, most of this hate is actually coming from the TikTok faker trend. Mental health mostly on TikTok fakers. But here's the thing, for as prevalent as it's been noticed recently, the amount of these fakers that have been proven to be fake, it's extremely rare. But the problem lies with the ones who actually were caught faking. And that problem is that because they were faking, because they didn't actually have an illness or a disability to hold them back, they were able to get amazingly successful. You'll notice most people with real disability and illness can't. It is too hard for us. But these people did not have that drawback. They had hundreds of thousands of followers. Now in the future, because of this, because of all of these followers that were following these fakers, not only does it look like it was more common than it actually was because they had such a big following, not only that, but now the followers are all kind of jaded and really are scared to support vocally anyone else in the future, which means the trolls have control, which can make it look even worse because then you have a lot of people that have real disabilities, real mental health issues, real hidden illnesses, and they're being called out for things and there's nothing they can do about it. We don't have the energy to fight back. It makes people that actually have these issues get quieter and more secluded, and the victim blaming from people that actually are jerks and actually do want to hurt these people and actually just won't believe anyone because they're trolls and jerks and bullies. There's no one to stop them anymore, which makes it look like it's getting out of control. All right, let's go back to the article here. Dr. Sullivan, a UW psychiatrist, hadn't heard of spoonies. So what? What does that have to do with it? None of the experts I spoke to had. Well, then they must not be experts in chronic illness or chronic pain. Been pretty popular for 5 years or so. She shows her disdain for the spoonie language, as she calls it, where people with POTS are POTSies. If you have a feeding tube, you're a tubie. I've never heard that. Lyme disease, limeys. Sounds like pirate talk. So she shows her disdain for that. There is an underlying anger there for some reason. She talks about functional disorders, which have no known physical cause or confirmatory way to test for it. She mentions IBS, chronic fatigue, and fibromyalgia. Here, she doesn't even quote the doctor. She just says the doctor said it, which means she's misquoting. The spoonie phenomenon feeds into a mass wave of anxiety that Dr. Compoliti said was prevalent among the young people that came with tics overnight. Again, none of this is quoted. Then she talks about the tics, which is now kind of not being as prevalent, but instead what is the new trend that doctor is seeing take over. Videos chronicling users' experiences with dissociative identity disorder, DID, ADHD, and autism. So she didn't even list any spoonie illnesses. The focus should be, what can we do to make it better, he said. You don't have to tell me you have fibromyalgia. You can just be tired, and I can have sympathy for you as a tired person. Wow. Here's another case of everything being twisted beyond belief. So this poor MaryBeth Marshall, who was 27 of Florida, said, there's some people who deep down inside don't want to get better. Marshall knows the spoonie world well. He dropped out of college because of focusing on healing from her fibromyalgia and then Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which they admit is a rare disorder, and the person had it. Marshall told me that in the early years she was desperate for a diagnosis so that her family and friends would take her seriously. I felt like I had to prove to everyone that it was all physical and that none of it was mental. We've all been there. And then somehow the author goes from, but after she got a diagnosis and after finally being admitted to this community of fellow sufferers, how many of you require diagnosis? I know I don't. She started scanning their posts. They were in hospital beds and crying. They made her feel like she'd never get better ever. You can get addicted to being sad and sick and the attention you receive, Marshall told me. The misery loves company thing makes you sicker. None of this makes sense. She must be mixing and matching this poor girl's story because what? For those of you who don't know, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, one of her two diagnoses, is an inherited disorder that affects your connective tissue. Your skin, your joints, blood vessel walls, etc. And there are a few different types of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, from less severe to more severe. How is this fake? How is this mental? Well, then the author randomly skips back to the original person, Cooper, whose phone had been taken from her at one point so she couldn't go on social media with her fellow spoonies. She had to go to a special eating disorder clinic that had to teach her how to properly eat and digest food again, because she'd had a feeding tube so long that she couldn't. How getting your phone taken away leads to you actually getting the help she should have gotten originally is the spoonie's fault isn't quite explained. There's a lot of things in here that don't make a lot of sense either. And then it goes into how Cooper would look around Instagram, follow the other people that were sick, and little quotes cherry-picked here and there. I was jealous of her, she told me. She looked so sick. Apparently Cooper coveted the other girl's illnesses. She had 2 tubes in her nose, and she'd post graphic medical updates and pictures of her body and her pills. You guys, I can't. If this is something someone is actually saying, this is so weird. What? None of this makes sense. She joined a group on Snapchat that I can't say because of YouTube issues. All we did was message each other about negative things that were happening, like how our hips were hurting that day or if we had a headache. She told me that when she finally got her phone back, I got back on and thought, oh my gosh, I was part of this? And then she deleted her Instagram. And then she finally gets her surgery, which lasted 5.5 hours, was very serious, ended up going to prom, and the way they end this article, but her spoonie self still lives in the back of her head. I'll think, oh, life would be so much easier with a pick line, she said. I have to tell myself that it actually won't make life easier. You guys, what the heck? And this, of course, ended up being where the Daily Mail article came from. So Emma James was the one that probably sourced all of this from the previous lady, Suzy Weiss's article, because she uses the same topic points. Now this one does use a little bit more research, not by much though. So it starts, teenage girls with invisible illnesses are posting upsetting videos of themselves online which generate thousands of likes as part of a new community called Spoonies. Thousands of teens are banding together on social media as part of the movement, which also encourages them to lie to doctors in order to get the diagnosis that they want. No source, nothing to back this up. She got it from the last lady who got it, who also did not have a source. Posting videos of themselves crying or lying listless in hospital beds racks up hundreds of thousands of likes in some cases, with dozens of comments supporting the spoon theory. So, you're angry that people are posting pictures of themselves in the hospital. Sick. Really? Dr. Katie Compoliti, neurologist at Rush University Medical Center, told CommonSense.News it's generated by anxiety in most cases or another comorbidity and then propagated by the ease of TikTok. Another comorbidity, huh? And then they also go into where spoon theory came from very quickly. See, these quotes are the exact same. That's how you know this author stole it from the other author who was just pulling it out of her freaking butt. Others claim that they are suffering from medical gaslighting, which includes being told by your doctor to lose weight to help your condition. It's medical gaslighting if they tell you to lose weight while refusing to test for anything else, with refusing to actually try to diagnose you in any way. That is medical gaslighting. You guys couldn't do a Google search here? Seriously? You couldn't do a Google search. You're a reporter. Shouldn't you be learning to look up facts? Some of them also make money off their platforms, which of some have hundreds of thousands of followers, by using it to promote offers for glasses, like the other one said, or supplements. Gee, an influencer promoting products specifically relating to them. Just never heard of that before. This girl really looks like she's faking it, doesn't she, guys? Oh my goodness. She's just doing all that for fun. It's all in her head, right? So here's where we find out where the lose weight gaslighting thing came from. One woman posted on social media that her psychiatrist had told her to lose weight to feel better and complained that it made her feel in shambles. Her psychiatrist, so not her doctor, not her medical doctor. Members of the group rallied around, with one even offering to send the doctor an anonymous email to explain the damages of claiming someone's weight was causing their mental or physical problems. This sounds more like the fat acceptance movement and less like the spoonies and chronic illness group. Now, granted, there are a lot of people that are doing both, but this group that they are refusing to name does not seem like a chronic illness group specifically. Like, is this even the same conversation? So Morgan was diagnosed with median arcuate ligament syndrome when she found the community and described the feeling as though she was less alone with them. And then it jumps to her telling this reporter, "I had one video just called 'I'm Sick,' and the thumbnail was me crying." What does that have to do with her joining this community? So is this video on YouTube or is it with this other community? On Instagram, whenever I would post a picture of me looking sad or with pills in my hand or in a wheelchair, I would get like 2,000 likes. So they're jumping around a lot here. You can tell these articles are 100% cherry-picked sentences from people that thought their actual story was going to get out. Unfortunately, that's not the case. All right, here's the reason I'm so mad, guys, is the problem with these articles twisting and manipulating all this stuff to make it seem like everyone is mental, hypochondriac, faking their chronic illnesses or disabilities, is that most of us, as your own quotes show, are already abandoned and discriminated against for our issues by our family, by our friends, by our workplaces, because they don't understand and they're saying it's all in our heads. We latch on to others in our community because otherwise it seems like we have no hope. Luckily, every year the medical industry does learn how to find more things, learn new tests, and things that used to be considered demons causing your seizures or, hysteria, bloodletting. We're going to get past this. We're going to get help. Our hidden illnesses, as time goes on, will get less hidden. But the reason we're all speaking out, the reason we're showing this, typically, is because we need more help and we're not getting it. The funding for research, the funding for all this is so small. The amount of people getting these problems is growing faster than the research is. So yeah, we're going to be voicing our concerns, showing people, hey, you're not alone. It happens to me too. And we're going to share what we think helped us so that, if you're out of ideas because your doctor doesn't know what to do with you, you can try that next. So back to the story. She claimed she felt like she needed to pad her own pills out with supplements to make her own situation seem more dire on social media, and admitted to feeling jealous of a girl that looked more sick than her. What does this have to do with actual chronic illness? Is this just trying to make it look like everyone's faking? Because you already admitted this person is actually sick with chronic illness. So they're padding their pills to make it look like they have more pills, and they're doing sad stuff for grief tourists. Your point is not made. And she's promoting salt tablets that help with POTS. Okay, how is that bad? And then more quotes from the last article from this MaryBeth from Florida. You can get addicted to being sad and sick and the attention you receive. The misery loves company thing makes you sicker. This just isn't how most of us work, and to be trying very hard, it looks like, to make it look that way is ridiculous. Your photos you used, your stories you used, these people had actual issues. They weren't making them up at all. Yes, there are some people that do the I'm sicker than you thing, and that's messed up, and I'm going to do a video on that later, but that is so few. Most people are quiet about their issues because they're ashamed, because all they get is negativity. So many, as many of you know, we chronic illness people are no strangers to victim blaming. And that's all these articles were. 100% victim blaming and gaslighting based on according to how they describe the conditions, complete and utter ignorance to our conditions. Unfortunately, all this victim blaming, non-believing, just saying it's your fault and it's all in your head when it's obviously not in most cases, as your articles clearly show, by most people having frickin' conditions. I mean, we know in our communities so many people that ended it because they couldn't take it anymore. And you are making this worse for us. The amount of people faking it, the amount of people exaggerating it compared to those of us that keep quiet, they're minimal. You're trying to compare this to the TikTokers that are faking things, and that's not what's happening. If someone's in the hospital, they're not faking it. I'm really hoping by putting out this video that I am making people in my chronic illness community more aware of the situation, because perhaps then we'll be more careful with who we share our stories with. I mean, frankly, at this point, you guys, I would recommend making a contract before ever giving your story to someone, making them sign, date, get it notarized, whatever, that contract, saying that you have to approve the final version that will be what is published, because otherwise they're going to take your story, cherry pick what they want, and manipulate it to make something like this. The character defamation is awful. I mean, it is making us look like it's all in our heads. We already are having huge issues with this. In those stories they printed, a couple of those people said no one believed them, and then they got diagnosed with things that were rare. Hello? I don't know, you guys. I just can't. I mean, I was losing sleep over this, though, and this is bothering me enough because this is going to cause so many problems. Take care of yourselves. Be very careful who you tell your story to. And you guys, watch out. There are people you know that are going to use this against you, that haven't been believing you, that have been making your life hard. And they just found some more ammo to use against you. So watch out for yourselves, protect yourselves, and be careful. If it starts getting too hard on you, please find a shrink to talk to and vent. And you know what? If they're one of these shrinks like they quoted in this article that are jerks and giving you advice that has nothing to do with your mental health, find a different one, please. I hope I made sense. I hope this helped you in some way. And yeah, like I said, I try and keep my channel neutral, but I can see this is going to be a problem. So figured you should know. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to me rant. I hope I made sense. And keep on surviving.